Hello my people, how's everyone feeling? Is everything okay? I really hope everything's okay, and then if it is not like that, let's try to make it happen, because we have no choice, do we? So that being said, let's start. Today I'm gonna be talking about how to lose belly fat in a healthy fashion, and more than that, I'm gonna be talking about saturated fatty acid. This type of fatty acid are the one that most people say that are the bad for you, that are the bad for health, that they are the unhealthy one, and it's not really like that. And today we're gonna have a look at it. Do not go anywhere. Stay with me. So, many people are saying that saturated fatty acid are bad for health, and they are absolutely wrong. And also, I have heard many times that you should cook with olive oil, and that's also absolutely incorrect. First of all, before starting talking about saturated fatty acid, why I said that you should stop cooking with olive oil, because they're gonna denatured, they're going to detangle, basically. In other words, they're going to lose their properties, because their melting point is very low, which means, as I said, they will denature at high temperature. So you shouldn't cook with that polyunsaturated fatty acid. Also, that will become hydrogenated, and eventually will become trans artificial fatty acid, and that's the worst for the health, which I'm going to be talking the next video about the trans fatty acid and the other. Today's video is about saturated fatty acid. That being said, let's go into the main point. Saturated fatty acid, they're gonna be solid at room temperature. All the bonds between carbon atoms will be single, which they're gonna make a linear, a straight formation. They are not gonna be bent, as happens with polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fatty acid, because of those two have a double bond, and that's why they can bend the formation. But the saturated fatty acid, it only has single bond, and they have a single they have a straight formation, a linear formation. And obviously, so all the carbon atom will be fully bound to hydrogen, because they are hydrogenated. Okay, first of all, we have to take into consideration that the best source of food that we have when we are born, even until 1 year old, is the breast milk. And the breast milk, 50% is from saturated fatty acid. 50%. So for those who says that saturated fatty acid are bad, maybe they didn't know these benefits.
Did you know that?
Saturated fatty acid will be a necessary and integrity of our cell. saturated fatty acid will be very important when it comes to the absorptions, not only of vitamins, minerals, as well as macronutrients. What I mean by that, saturated fatty acid, right, will work as a, for the calcium to be absorbed in our body, especially in our skeletal structure, we need an adequate amount of saturated fatty acid. For the vitamin D to be absorbed, once our skin is exposed at sunlight, we need saturated fatty acid, as well as for the better absorption of the essential fatty acid, talking about omega-3, omega-6, omega-7, omega-9, but the most popular ones are omega-3 and omega-6. They just leave it like that. Saturated fatty acid will help to increase our metabolism, and therefore it would really help to burn belly fat. This particular area, we want to be able to burn more. I eat a lot fatty acid, maybe more than I supposed to. I know that, but maybe tomorrow I'm bad. But so far, I'm okay. And try to eat the proper amount. Saturated fatty acid also will help to lower the bad cholesterol and increase the good cholesterol. I know that many of you have heard that, good and bad cholesterol, and I will tell you exactly what it's all about. The one that we call a good cholesterol, it is called high density lipoprotein, and the bad one will be low density lipoprotein. The good one, the one the fatty acid will help to increase, that one is the one that has been left in our blood and tissues, so the body will take them back to the liver. On their way back to the liver, they're gonna be cleaning all the plaques in our artery walls created by the bad cholesterol. They're gonna be cleaning on his way. Once they get to the liver, they're gonna be either destroyed or immediately used as energy where our body needs them, right? And be stored as fat by our body. From saturated fatty acid, it's gonna be derived short, medium, and long chain fatty acid. Today, I'm gonna be talking about short and medium chain fatty acid. Those friends are smaller than saturated fatty acid. For that reason, they're gonna be introduced easier through the artery walls. They won't damage our body, and if they that, very little. Our intestinal system won't be damaged by them because they are very small. They will get easily by our artery walls. They get to the liver. Once in the liver, they're gonna be also used for immediately. They're gonna be sent for immediate use instead of being stored as fat. also something that I have to point out. Our brain is surrounded by fatty acid. Obviously, the saturated fatty acid can't be that bad when our brain is surrounded by it, right? One, the appropriate consumption of saturated fatty acid will help in our attention and decrease the tension, which is very beneficial for our brain health, isn't it? Obviously, those people who say that saturated fatty acid are bad for health, they unknown these benefits above mentioned by me.
Did you know that?
You should incorporate saturated fatty acid on your daily routine, a proper amount, which I'm gonna be talking about that. The bad saturated fatty acid will be chicken, or the poultry skin. You should take off the skin because that skin is contain a lot of a significant amount of bad cholesterol, the one that I didn't explain about the bad cholesterol. So the bad cholesterol, that's gonna be the one that is gonna be transported to our organs, cells, and tissues, and on their way, right, they're going to be deposited and creating plaques, and therefore hinder the proper circulation of blood. And if you don't have a proper circulation of blood, obviously you're gonna be lack of oxygen, and you know what happens when you are lack of oxygen. So a short and medium chain fatty acid will have antimicrobial properties. They will feed a microorganism that live in our digestive system, and that will enhance to produce more bile, and that's very good news because the food will be absorbed with much easier throughout our digestive system. All of those benefits come from saturated fatty acids. So as you can see, they are not as bad as they has been portrayed over the last years. Remember, the best one is the trans fatty acid, the one that has been from liquid to solid. That's why they have been hydrogenated, and they will lose properly. And by the way, this type of trans fatty acid, they come from baked goods. Bakery, they use a lot of this type of trans fatty acid, and they are the bad one. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to be talking about the many bad things that trans fatty acid can give us, the unhealthy aspect about it, but definitely that will increase the risk of heart attack, increase your diabetes, increase your bad cholesterol, that will cause coronary issues, and obviously you're going to gain weight, unlike what we want. We want to, as I said before, decrease this particular area, the waist circumference. That extra fat in this particular area, in the abdominal cavity, that's the most dangerous when it comes to health. And that's why you should eat a proper amount and a good source of macronutrients. And in this case, I'm talking about especially the saturated fatty acid, even though I have been talking about the trans as I said before, and early on I just mentioned the polyunsaturated fatty acid, which is also essential fatty acid, the olive oil, because many people say that cook with that oil, and you shouldn't be cooking with that oil, because at high temperature, I said again, that the nature, the tango, they will lose all the properties, and that will come hydrogenated, that will become trans fatty acid. So now, where the saturated fatty acid can be found? They can be found in, obviously, animal products. You know, the animal contain saturated fatty acid. So, pork, cow, all the animal products contain that. Be careful when it comes to the chicken. Even with the skin, even can cook the same chicken. Once the chicken is cooked, take off the skin, or take it off at the very beginning. It's up to you. But that fat that has the skin of the chicken will help you to cook the same chicken. And then once the chicken is done, just take it off the rest, because you don't want to have a lot of bad cholesterol in your blood. You don't want that, do you? So, animal products, they can be found. I'm talking about the saturated fatty acid in butter. When it comes to butter, I want to say something very important. I think the good butter will be that one that comes from grass-fed cow. Grass-fed cow. The cow that has been growing, just eating the grass. Sometimes maybe some food by us, by human being, but most of the time by grass. That's a good butter that you should consume. The butter coming from seeds, they are not that good. They have been processed. And a butter coming from grain, they are a link to increase inflammation, and therefore you're gonna obviously increase your abdominal cavity, right? And you don't want that, do you? Another type of another good source of saturated fatty acid would be coconut. That one, that's very good. It's good for health. Do not denise it at high temperature. You can cook with coconut oil. Coconut oil will be solid at room temperature. That has a number of benefits for health. You should use that one. Also, you can use a palm oil. That's another type of saturated oil, beneficial for us, for our health. In nuts, you can also find saturated fatty acid. Just be mindful when it comes to nuts, because also nuts contain omega-3 and omega-6, essential fatty acid that our body doesn't produce. But when it comes to omega-6, they can increase your inflammation. So be mindful with the consumption of this type of food. Dry food, talking about nuts and seeds. And here you go. Now you have a better idea when it comes to saturated fatty acid, that it's not as bad as you think it is. Let's take, for example, you get the coconut oil, you cook it, Don't reuse it and cook it, reusing and cooking. No, no. Obviously, I know that in many countries you have to you get the vegetable oil and you finish and then you reuse it and you reuse it and you reuse it because different reasons, but you know what you're doing. You are creating a trans fatty acid. You are that very good oil is being altered, is being transformed, and it's becoming the bad one, the trans fatty acid. That has to be into consideration. If you wanna cook with something that I don't suggest, but we all have done it, with vegetable oil, just do it once. Just do it once and try to do it in a low temperature, low fire, not very high, because you don't want to get too much trans fat. Apart from the fact that you're gonna add too much processed carbohydrates, and remember that we don't store carbohydrate in our body. We don't store glucose. The glucose that we have will be in our bloodstream, and the glucose that we say that we stored is become into glycogen, and that will be in our cells, let's say in our muscle, that will be in there. Once our glucose that we have in our bloodstream finish, we go for our glycogen. That's the glucose in form of energy inside the cells. See what I'm saying? But we don't store really glucose. So because we don't store glucose, when we eat too much carbohydrates, the liver will take that out of the liver and become that carbohydrate into fatty acid, and that would be a very bad fatty acid, very hard to be burned, to get rid of, and that would be a place in unwanted places. And just to say something, do not worry about too much about the extra fat on your legs or on your face, on your neck, or behind here, the scapula, because they might be unwanted, but they are not dangerous for health. The dangerous one is the belly fat. Just to put it straight like that. The adipose tissue that we have in our surrounding the organs and in the abdominal cavity, that the one will be unhealthy. But the belly fat, that's a bad one. And yes, now you have a better idea when it comes to saturated fatty acid, with the explain very simple, not using difficult words at all, because this is not a nutrition exam. This is a video that I want to inform. This is basically an informative video when it comes to fatty acid, and in this case especially I've been talking about saturated fatty acid, the one that people say that is the bad one. Okay, so remember, 50% of our fatty acid intake should be from saturated fatty acid. How much fatty acid you should consume? Okay, we'll tell you, because that's very important. The moderation, the amount is very important here when it comes to nutrition. All right. Anything from, well, it depends first on your goal, on your current physical level, your exercise background, on your genetic, on your psychological point of view, because sometimes you are sad and that gives and you feel a craving for sugary drinks and cookies and chocolate and all that. So say 35, 40% of our total calorie intake should be from healthy fatty acid. Healthy, because remember, saturated fatty acid are healthy as well. And hopefully it's been informative, helpful. If you've liked what you've heard, you know what you should do. Oh, you did it. Oh, thank you. I do appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you for that. Oh, you give and you. Oh, a like. You gave it a like. Oh, dude. Oh, good. I like it like that. How about you forgot something? Hit the bell, and you won't miss out any of my videos. I'll see you guys later.